Hello, everybody. Welcome to Feed the Beast. Today, we're going to talk about creative, or who is the creative? Are we artists? Are we writers? We all are creatives. So let's find out a little bit about our process, how John and I get these stories out on paper, and see if you can work through it like we do.
How do you fill in this blank page? Join your hosts, Ted and John, in the quest to create conflicts, characters, storylines, all that is needed to feed the beast.
Welcome to Feed the Beast. I'm Ted Davies. I'm an artist and author best known for Retrieve and Grimm 101. Who's the guy next to me here?
I'm John Celestri. I'm a classic animator and writer, and best known for introducing and animating the first appearance of Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, working on Dragon's Lair as an animator and Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, He-Man and She-Ra, and Rock and Rule and a whole bunch of stuff. And I create my own comic books from beginning to end.
Right.
I'm the one man band.
That's awesome, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we became. You're a legend in this. You're part of my childhood, and I respect the hell out of you. So I want people to really listen to the words that you state, because I think that it's really it's nice, because you're 20 years my senior, and you've been in this industry for a long, long time, and you're still writing. And
Yeah.
it's never too late. And I want people to know that, because it's something that if you've got a story, you might not have a book in you, but you've got a story. And
Mhm.
that's what we really want to talk about today. In any case, okay. So how do we come up with these ideas? We were talking about it off camera. The ether, these voices, these ideas. That they're in my head all the time, and I'm always doodling and writing it down and drawing and trying to get these transferred to paper. How do you do it? What's your take on all of it?
Well, when I started writing I started writing as a comic strip, trying to create comic strips back in my teens.
Hmm.
And that was the joke idea. Okay. And that was like, okay, but was there a continuity to the joke?
Hmm.
And in terms of from day to day. But anyway, I started writing like that, and then got into animation and the story. But today, and back in the '90s, I started developing my ability to writing for crime fiction
Hmm.
and such. So that became historical also, in terms of historical crime fiction. But there's all different ways. But in terms of starting, my first thought is, are you writing an idea? Is it a plot driven a story, or is it a character driven story? Now those are two different approaches. I mean, if you want to go to that extreme, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So, what is it that you want to say? I mean, what is the thing that what is the story that you want to tell? I mean, there
Hmm.
has to be something inside your head that says, I got to get this out. Now, if you don't have something that you got to get out, then you wind up being not being able to be invested in that story. And I think that's the thing. But we all have a story.
Hmm.
How it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be earth shaking. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be. Oh wow, no one cares about this. We all have our beginnings, middles, and end to events that happen to us.
Hmm.
And sometimes, you just have to just step back and think and remember. And that's how you might start. If for those who are unpracticed in this, and you want to start that way. Start relating a story about what happened to you.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that each one of us have a unique perspective in life, and each one of us are here to share that perspective because it might help somebody get through a point in their life.
Mhm.
And I really think that. I think that there's a real commonality in that. And I think that no matter if it's writing a comic book or a prose book, the ways that we see things might help somebody else. And I think that that's a lot of what we're here for on a philosophy side of it.
Yeah.
How do we manage though to duplicate that effort to others is that's why we're doing this podcast.
Right.
How do we, the first thing that I do is if I have an idea, I usually have a small pad of paper or something. Either I'm jotting down a drawing of the idea or I'm sketching out a line. And it could be a tagline. It could be a line that's a title. It could be a question. What if this happened? What would be my response to it? Or something along those lines. So a lot of my stuff is plot driven. It's more so than character. It's almost observer driven in a way.
Okay.
So how do you think of things like that when it comes up?
Well, for me, we all feel we all have some kind of feelings about what has happened to us in our lives, and in the what we don't do officially is journal. And many times, I mean, it's for some reason people don't want to take 10, 15 minutes in a day or at the end of the day to jot down what happened to them. And it used to be that you would do that. Now, I'm not talking about being, well, no, everything is valid to this. As an adult, as a child, as a teenager, when you're dealing with stuff, gals, will journal and say, in the old day, in many years ago, everybody had a secret diary. And this was your being able to pour out what happened and how you felt.
Yeah, the expression of the human experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And that is writing.
At its core, at its most primal.
Core,
yeah.
Yeah. And you're talking to an invisible friend and saying, this is what happened to me today. And that person is not going to judge you. And that's why it was so secret and so important that nobody read it.
Yeah, it's intimate. It's
very intimate. And so people are still capable of doing that. I have a sketchbook that was given to me when I showed up, when I arrived in Los Angeles in 1983, my second time around. And that was, artists would have a sketchbook and they would be sketching stuff. Well, I also did observations, and there was one thing where I remember specifically writing it down on. I was doing my laundry.
Yeah.
At a laundromat, and I sketched down what had happened to me for, what's the word? For what was occurring during the first month that I was, in Los Angeles, and it was very revealing to me. Now, that was really the first time I was writing stuff down like that. But anyway, people can do that. No one stops you. You don't need an official, loosely, pen. Just get the cheapest pad.
Spiral notebook is what I used to use.
Just do a little pad that costs maybe about 50 cents.
Yeah.
And just write down. All you got to do is, fill out that page of what happened. And you'll get, and the thing is that as you write, you become more fluent in being able to express yourself verbally.
Yes. And we were talking about it off camera, as far as creatives, we need an outlet. We need an outlet as artists. I feel differently when I don't draw. I feel my day isn't like complete. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
The same thing with writing. I
Mhm.
might go a week or two without really writing
Mhm.
at certain times, but I'm lesser for it. I feel different.
Mhm.
And I think that as creatives, we need to have an outlet, whatever it is, whether it's paint or drawing, whatever,
Mhm.
writing, if it's on your laptop or if it's on just handwritten, which I think handwriting is a better way to go for me. It's just
Mhm.
a better way to get it out. Um,
Yeah.
you and I are very lucky in a lot of respects because we've been able to write and to draw. Or we
Mhm.
built careers around that, both of us. And not everybody has that. That's a luxury, that renaissance, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
of what we're able to do. What do you say to people that don't feel like they can write? That they even with the journaling, what's
Well, I will say this is that if you can write an email, you
mhm,
can write.
mhm.
That's that we've become. If you can text, you can write. So that's not a valid point. We're not talking about writing huge prose.
Yeah, you're not writing an opus here. This is
No,
just
we're talking about writing down observations
mhm,
or writing down how something has affected you by the actions of the day.
right.
And as you do it more frequently, as just 10, 5 minutes, 10
Mhm.
minutes. It's amazing what you can get down.
Sure.
And you will then don't worry about the sentence structure. Get your idea or what you're emotionally saying to yourself on that piece of paper. And you will be surprised that as you do it, it is a muscle. As you do it on a daily basis, 10, 15 minutes a day, you will get stronger and you will become more being able to uh, uh, express yourself verbally stronger as yeah every day, every week, every month, and every year. And
Mhm.
what will happen is that you look back on it. Yeah, you write down one little page, and then 365 days later, it's amazing how stronger you will have gotten.
Right. Or maybe even the thing that bothered you back then
Yeah,
has worked its way through and not it's not as effective to
right.
you as
And
yeah.
and 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 that's the thing about it. I mean, um, I'll say as part of this, um, I created my comic book character, a blood Michael, Bloodwing
Mhm.
Angel,
Mhm.
for the books that I'm doing now. I created that. Oh, third was it? It's almost 29 years ago, but I
Mhm.
wrote it as a novella because it was at the darkest point in my life.
Mhm.
All kinds of stuff had kicked me in the head.
Mhm.
I mean, like really, it wasn't drugs. It was financial. It was
Mhm.
it was the my career just being just as low as you can get to
Mhm.
be. And so I just poured out all this, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to pour it out in a story, and I poured it into the angel, an innocent angel who played by the rules, and then was screwed over as being felt like being a pawn in a game between God and Satan.
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And so that's how I poured myself into that, and I just put all of my energies into that to create that novella.
Which was both therapeutic and, um, very successful. In fact, so successful that you're on this is a you have a Kickstarter now
I have a
with the
Kickstarter
storyline?
now. Yes, I'm into 120 pages of the story, but it's just starting. That's the thing
Mhm.
is that what happens is I poured myself into the novella. I published it online on Amazon as an ebook,
Mhm.
and I didn't think anyone was going to do anything with it, and so it's just there. But that is the basis from which I'm doing all the work that I will be doing until they carry me out of the house,
Mm-hmm.
feet first,
Mm-hmm.
basically because there is so much material and it's all part of me. And that's what I think writers and the average person has that story.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think as creatives, we have it's almost it's almost a problem
Mhm.
if we don't do something with it. You've
Yes.
taken this negative energy and you've converted it,
Mhm.
and and you've made something uh, extremely positive,
Yes.
interesting,
Yes.
and you've channeled this energy that would have been very destructive
Yeah.
if not at a point in your life. And I've been there too. I understand that the financial side of it and all of that.
Mm.
I understand that. Um, but you channeled it, you've done it, and you've turned it, and now it's a great story to begin with. But it's interesting, it's entertaining, and it's thought provoking for a lot of people.
Right.
But you as a creative, I think that we're designed to do that. We have a choice that we can change that energy. We can turn it and make it malleable
Right.
and maneuver it into something.
Right. And we're talking about people who want to write and feel that they have something to say, but you don't have to worry about the audience. Here's the thing.
Hmm.
Don't worry about an audience because as a person, you need to express yourself. You can go looking, trying to make it there's commerce and art. They're two different things. And if you want to express yourself as an artist, just do it. Do not care about the audience as though some big company, multimedia corporation take my vision and make a big money out. You know what's going to
Hmm.
happen with that? It isn't going to be yours anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It gets changed. So if you want to be to express yourself, do it without censorship. If it's truthful, don't censor it, no matter how you feel. And that means four-letter words, whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
do it. And that becomes your voice. And as you create stuff, you'll find that sometimes, you can't start at point one, point A, and go all the way to point B. That's not the way it works. You're writing and you're saying, if it's something that's true, and it has occurred, well, put it down. Then something you'll say something you'll think about. Well, what led to that? What brought it to? Well, you'll write about that, and then you say, well, how am I going to relate to this? What's my solution? Or do I have a solution? Or what are the possibilities? You write that down, and then you realize you start moving things around, and then you have a beginning, middle, and an end.
Mm-hmm.
You have your basic story about yourself. And as long as you live, there is always going to be something to write about because you can't tell me that you're sitting back and have no opinion about what is happening to you, the central character in your story.
Right. I think one of the most powerful things you said too was, and I think this is really important because we're so wrapped up in social media. I know I am. But I don't post a lot of my personal views and that online. Not because I'm afraid. It's the fact that I think that there's enough out there for that. Doesn't mean that you can as a writer or whatever. But I think that the most important thing that you just said was write it down on a loose leaf packet or whatever 50-cent pad of paper, whatever it is. One of the things that is great about that is it's like I said, it's yours.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be posted. It doesn't have to be a story or a reel or a video on YouTube. It can be yours, and it can be not necessarily, like you said, editing. Editing is not censoring. So if you
Yeah.
ever want to go back and then re-edit or edit again and so forth, you have a substance that's yours, and that's I think really important.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be broadcasted. It doesn't have to be online unless you want it to be. So, and that should give you some privacy and
Mhm.
some intimacy with, in that. But I think that's a huge, huge bonus. Good point to start out with, because I think we're all autobiographical in some regards. I think that's a great way to start being a writer. And you might kind of laugh at some of the things that bothered you. I know I did. When I look back on things, I'm like, I can't believe that bothered me the way it did. I really can't, years later.
Yeah, and it allows you to have to have perspective
Mm,
looking back, because you can't, because you'll be surprised, as you say, you'll be surprised by what bothered you,
yeah.
or but then you realize after journaling things,
Mhm.
and really looking at your life, or what the events of your that has happened, you'll see, okay, did that turn out to be better for me having gone through that, or not? What is it? What did I learn from this?
Yeah.
It is reflective, but the thing is that that's a positive thing.
Hmm.
Health wise, mental health wise, we need to be able to say, okay, I have to have perspective of what is going on. And that makes you aware of what is going on to yourself now, and seeing how potentially what your actions could lead to.
Very true.
Because
Yeah.
as you
Very true.
become more reflective, you start becoming aware of the cause and effect.
Yes. Yes. And the journey of it all, of how we can be observers, or we can be people that are helping
Mhm,
others. I mean, there's so many different facets. So one of the things too is, I think that it's so important that we, if we'll call it journaling for
mhm.
just this title right now.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, because I write multiple stories. I don't really have any downtime when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I think that we need to, as creatives too, get that emotion out, or get our feelings out, so that we can kind of clear the palette a bit, so that
Mhm,
we can get our other stories, the other voices in our head down, the
mhm,
other things that we really should be writing too.
mhm.
How do you feel about that? Do you think that I think it's a pivotal part of who we are as creatives. We should get our thoughts down, get our anxieties down in that, so that our next stories, or our other stories, need to be um, had a clear path.
Oh yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think I think what it is when you tell your story, write it down as though you were telling a friend.
Mm,
That way, you're basically summarizing your story. You're not acting out each piece of it, but you could write in a not a, well, in an omniscient way, where you're saying, you know what, when I was doing this, I don't know what the heck that other person was doing, but you know
mhm.
what, this is what happened, and so on. So you're writing it down, and then you go on. You Once you have written down, you've written down this little story of what happened. Then you can go on to another story, and so you're not constantly reworking something. You're not Just write it down, summarize it to a friend, and put in all your feelings about it, but then go on to the next thing. That way you then have room to start on another idea.
Right. And I think that, stream of consciousness writing is a really, it's been very therapeutic for me, which if people don't know what that means, write down what's on your mind. Write
Mhm,
down as it's flowing. Just write it down. Don't
mhm,
be afraid, like you were saying. Don't edit. Don't worry about paragraph. Don't worry about punctuation. Just get it down. And you know what? I don't even erase. I use a permanent fine tip marker, and I
yeah,
just scratch out the word if I don't like
yeah,
it. I
yeah,
don't. So I just roll with it. And I think that go for it.
yeah,
And that's another thing. I write in journal format. I write in journal books. Basically, those little moleskin, those black books. I
yeah,
write very easy, but that's me.
yeah,
Um, and it's once the idea is down, I'll go through it again and then see if it works for me. Again, if this is storytelling for me, not my personal thoughts on a lot of things, but just storytelling, but you've got to start.
Yep.
And if it means autobiography, great. If it means that just you're writing down the highs and lows for the day, great.
Yep.
Whatever. I would suggest putting down the date and then maybe the day.
Yes. Yes.
And just so you got a basis of when this is happening.
Yeah.
But that would be my only suggestion. But I think that you need, pen to paper is very powerful.
It is.
And
It is.
it's a very cheap therapist. So,
And it's also, you don't need electricity.
correct.
You don't need power.
Correct.
Just have a ballpoint pen and just a little spiral notebook. Or if you really just go and get a regular, just little old school lined paper, that is a little notebook or 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 5, what have you, and just and being able to keep it. Those things you could get for $10, you could probably get enough stuff to keep you going for a couple of years.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, the dollar store's been
And the thing about writing versus typing and whatnot, writing, you become, it flows out of you.
yes. You're a channel, and you're
right into it. You're channeling into it, and you just don't scratch off anything. Scratch it off or whatnot, but don't toss out anything.
I agree. I mean, you see a lot of the movies and the cliche of the writer pulling the paper out of the typewriter, crumpling it all up, throw it in the garbage. I've never done that.
Yeah.
I've never done that, ripped a page out of the paper or anything. I've always kept them in there, and that's been good for me. Even if it's 1 or 2 words on it, whatever.
Yeah.
I've never done that theatrical, crunching of the paper, throwing it out.
That's all for show.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't worry about it. If you don't want to buy an official bound,
right.
diary,
You don't have to get a
don't worry
most.
about, it has to be permanent. No, what? You get the notebook, those little school book, the black, the model, the sort of kind of like a black and white modeled
Sure.
cover there, and just open it up and just start writing, and it doesn't matter. You could just you can write a line, a sentence, of something, and skip a line and then a sentence there. If you want to separate
right
that.
in the margins, right?
Yeah.
All over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I draw pictures on it, do whatever to get that idea down. Yeah.
However you feel, that is what's on that page. Doodle.
And that's it. Yeah. Like I said, get the ideas down, and make it your own. And if it's a private thing for you, that's even better in my eyes. So where can everybody find you, John?
Well, right now I'm doing, I've got I'm on Twitter with @CelestryJohn. I'm on Facebook as John Celestry, but Kickstarter is going with Bloodwing Angel Chronicles, and the campaign is still going. It'll be going until October 23rd.
Excellent.
So,
we'll put the description. We'll put it in the description as well, the link for that, so you've got people can get in touch with you. That's good. Good stuff. What are you writing right now? What are you writing?
Well, right now, what I'm writing is a press release.
That's good.
To say, hey, this is what we do. Everything I do is writing, but I'm taking at the point where I'm just fine tuning the dialogue and whatnot, because I'm finishing off book 3. The next one, I'm starting to pull together the portions from the novella and the TV script that I did for Bloodwing Angel.
Excellent.
So I start pulling all those things together and start cutting and pasting, and because I've got different ideas from one and another.
That's excellent.
That's how that becomes a third thing. Novellas are one thing. A TV script is something else. A comic book page is something else.
Sure. Diversification of creativity is great.
Yep.
Love it. Everybody can find me at teddaviesartistry.com. Feel free to email me. You can find me on pretty much anywhere Ted Davies Artistry is at. And we're also going to be podcasting this on Spotify as well, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. So yeah, you can check everything out. I'm writing, finishing up my book, Retrieve 3, the third in the series. And we're working on a little bit more of, we're talking about scripts in California. We've got a few things going on out there with producer Craig Hall, and we're wrapping a few things up for that's moving forward. So it's slowly but surely getting completed. So we'll have more information on that hopefully by the end of the year here. So, but that's good. Everything's really, really solid right now. Everything's going great. So I appreciate your time, John, so much. And I really, to everybody in the audience, I just want you guys to know that, we all start out, writing this way. So it's just a very simple process. Don't think you have to sell it to Hollywood or anything else. Just get the ideas down and make the world better for it.
Yep.
Make yourself happier too. Nothing wrong with that. You can check out what we're doing on Feed the Beast. We're going to be doing this episode. You can also check on the last of the series that we did on creating comics, your own comic book, and the storyline that John had. Fantastic group of videos that we did with that, just on how to build and structure comic book. Fantastic if that's your genre. But now we're going to be talking a little bit more about prose and getting some ideas down, and that's going to be our next episodes for the next few episodes here. We don't know how many they're going to be, but they're going to be about 30-minute talks that we're going to be doing every couple of weeks, and hopefully they'll get you motivated and guided towards what you need to be doing and writing. So thank you again, John. We'll be talking to you soon, man. I got to write, so we'll
Take
talk
care,
to you.
Ted. See you next time. Okay,
Yep,
bye.
see ya.
How do you fill in this blank page? Join your hosts, Ted and John, in the quest to create conflicts, characters, storylines, all that is needed to feed the beast.